Matt is the president of Daedalus, which is one of Pittsburgh's premier research, design, and engineering companies. He teaches at Carnegie Mellon's, just done a tremendous amount to help bring art and technology here in the city. So, Matt, would you like to give us your view on the value of collaborations, maybe an example you might share?
Yeah, you know, there's two things that, there are two things that stick out to me. Is it on? Is that on? Okay.
You really have to speak right into it.
Thanks. There are two things that stick out to me when I look at the value of collaboration between arts and technology, which is really what happens in my company. We have people who are very interested in the relationship between, you know, the way things work functionally, products and experiences, and then how they feel for people emotionally, kind of the texture of product. And the artistic sensibility is the one that is necessary to make the way things work feel right for the individuals who use them. And so we have people who can draw, who can visualize, who are creative artistically, and we have people who are very technology oriented, who come together in our office to create new things. And the two things I think about, one is the way things feel, the other is just this desire to visualize something new, something that's a major change from the way things are today. It seems like that goes together within the artistic sensibility, the desire to change and the desire to make things that are more appropriate for people and feel right to people.
Would you mind sharing maybe one example where Daedalus has reached outside of the design community and collaborated across industry? I know you have tons of.
Yeah. Well, you know, we recently it's a small project, but a lot of fun. We collaborated with a couple of photographers who had an innovative idea, and they were very good at creating a. Don't want to be too specific about it, but they're very good at imagining what they want the experience to be like, but they didn't have the ability to get down to the nuts and bolts and make it happen. So we were able to translate their artistic vision into something that was practical and real, and something that they're starting to see success with.
Okay, great example. I'll think about that. Place engineers, I think they have 20, 30 engineers. They're heavy researchers reaching out and working with photographers. That's what we're talking about here, examples of cross-industry collaboration. Our next panel, Paul, is the Vice President of Broadcast and Digital Media at the Fred Rogers Company, which is near and dear to our heart. He's relatively new to Pittsburgh, comes to us from PBS and the Cartoon Network. So, Paul, would you like to share an example of the value you see in collaborations, maybe outside the art collaborating with another industry?
Sure, and I'd like to start also with doing a little bit of a commercial for the company. I want to ask how many people here have seen Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Good. How many people here have seen Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood? It's much fewer. And that, I have to ask that question. And one other question: how many people here are parents of young children? Even fewer. So I wanted to check because sometimes people don't realize what the Fred Rogers Company is doing right now. We are continuing to create children's educational media, primarily for the preschool audience, but also for young elementary school kids. And we currently have 3 shows in production for PBS. One that's been on the air for almost 2 years now, that's Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. It is currently the #1 highest rated program among young mothers in all of children's television. So it's kind of a force, and we're excited to be producing that. Daniel Tiger is based on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's a spin-off, it's an animated version of Neighborhood Make-Believe. So we've been able to take Fred Rogers' legacy and make it a little bit more contemporary for today's children while still holding on to his educational principles. We also have a show called Peg Plus Cat. It is also on PBS. It premiered in October. It's been doing very well, and it just won 3 Emmy Awards. And now we also have a third show in production called Odd Squad. It's a show for early elementary school kids. Both Odd Squad and Daedalus Cat teach math. Odd Squad is a live action series. So whenever I have a chance to get in front of an audience like this, I want to shout to the world. The Fred Rogers Company is alive and thriving and making new stuff, and we're excited about it. Another thing that I like to point out is that our tagline is "The legacy lives on." In everything we do, we try to make sure that we're incorporating Fred Rogers' social emotional lessons, his spirit in everything that we do. But the other thing that we also try to pull from Fred Rogers' legacy is his creativity and his innovation. A lot of people don't think of him as being an incredible creative and innovative talent, but that's exactly what he was. He was breaking new ground everything he did. And so we strive to do that. Now I'll talk about the topic at hand, which is Pittsburgh. I think that we also want to continue the love affair with Pittsburgh that Mr. Rogers had. And one of the things that we're doing right now is in Daniel Tiger's neighborhood. In every episode, there are live action segments where we're featuring Pittsburgh children in Pittsburgh locations. So many people might not know this, but Daniel Tiger's neighborhood may be Pittsburgh's greatest postcard to America. We featured nearly 200 children from Pittsburgh in segments. We've shot 50 episodes. We're going to go to 65. We've had kids at the zoo, at Benetton, at local restaurants. We're about to shoot something with the Center of Life with Tim Smith and cleaning up the park in Hazelwood. We're shooting at Manchester Bidwell. We've done stuff at the library and museums. We've really kind of done what we can to continue to feature Pittsburgh in a positive light. And the other thing that's kind of long-term, I think is important, is that Pittsburgh has a great pride in being the home of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I think that if you're a parent or a young child, or you're a young child, you have a great pride in being the home of Daniel Tiger's neighborhood now. Because there's going to be a whole generation of Pittsburgh children who are going to grow up and they're going to say, "You were on Daniel Tiger, weren't you? I was on Daniel Tiger too, isn't that cool?" And I think that's going to do a lot for the future of pride in Pittsburgh that is associated with our company.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your passion and for relocating to Pittsburgh. This next gentleman, I'm not sure how much introduction he needs. Carl Kurlander is what we call a boomerang. Grew up in Pittsburgh, left, went to Hollywood. I helped co-author something maybe some of you have heard of called Say No Most Fire. We're lucky he came back to Pittsburgh, and I think he's the essence of what we're talking about here today. Collaboration between the arts in about every commercial sector I can think of. We talked about how to get Carl to encapsulate the story because he has so many. But I think, Carl, you're going to talk something about the chair and what you're doing here with Point Park?
Yeah, and very appropriately, by the way, we started about a decade ago, Steeltown, the nonprofit I run, really was started by a lot of people right after Fred had passed away. Fred's a great example of somebody who left here, went to NBC with a boomerang himself, learned his craft, and came back here. So we were founded by a bunch of people who said our greatest export is no longer steel, it's talent. And luckily, a lot of those talent really owe themselves, are tight with their Pittsburgh roots. In fact, Bob Marshall, who directed Chicago, when the first year we started, he said, when he was nominated for an Oscar, he said, I want to thank Pittsburgh, because I grew up here on the buffet of the arts, the symphony, the arts organizations, the museum, all these things. And our idea at Steeltown was to take the arts and commercialize it into the entertainment industry, which is one of the largest industries in the world. So, that said, one of our most recent things right here at Point Park, we've brought a lot of people back, and one of them was a producer named Chris Moore, who was a star in Project Greenlight, produced Good Will Hunting and American Pie. And he was not from here, but started to fall in love with the city. So he wanted to do a new project. Mel Gibson originally was going to direct Good Will Hunting and didn't. And he said, any other project you get to see two different versions of it. So he had a project called The Chair, where two people are going to direct the same movie in the same town, and you would see the product. That's now a reality, our unscripted series that will air on Starz Network, 10 episodes in the fall. The reason that happened, and Steeltown was one of the lead people, we also were part of Point Park, and the QBD Steeltown Incubator. So we brought that project here, but more importantly, you had 2 movies that had a crew up. You probably don't notice about movie shooting here. A lot of times we have great crews here, but not enough crews, and you have to have people come in from other places. We really love to see more artists and people start to learn the skill set so they can be hired. It's a very expensive proposition making movies, so you have to really know your craft. But I'm going to give you one quick example. Some of you may know Ron Long, who's a great lighting designer, who does great theater sets. But when we started the Steeltown QBD Incubator, we did a TV show, and he said, hey Ron, come over, and will you learn how to do a TV set? And he did that great. And he's since done several other sets, and now, on the chair, he is a production designer for one of the movies. So again, you know, it's great, and I know the film office will speak later that all these movies are coming here. Our job is really to help create the infrastructure here in the workforce, and to use all of you to train so that you can start taking more and more of those jobs as they come here. There's so many movies shooting here. So we're just excited to be here, and we want to let you know, Steeltown's mission really to pull all this together and help create the entertainment industry and make Pittsburgh a world-class place for which great entertainment like the Fred Rogers Company produces. And Jesse Schell, we're about to introduce, and really make this the center of the world. So thanks.
Thank you. Before I introduce Jesse, I just want to thank my panel members for working with me on time and remind you after Jesse, I'm going to come back to you, Matt, and go right down the line with another set of examples. I don't know how many of you here have heard of Schell games. Okay, a lot of you have. I don't know how the heck Randy Couch and Don Marinelli were able to get you to relocate here from Disney back in the early 2000s. I'm really glad they did. And I don't know if you realize, but Schell Games is probably one of the outstanding gaming studios in the world, and they're right here in Pittsburgh. So Jesse, I'd like to, very interested in what you'd like to share with us as an example of the many collaborations you do between art and other industries.
Sure. Schell Games, let's see, so we've been at it about 10 years. We're just across the Smithfield Street Bridge. We're right there on the right in Station Square. We've got about 100 people or so at this point. And we do a number of different things that involve cross-industry collaboration. Everything from, we've helped Disney and SeaWorld create interactive theme park rides to helping to create interactive toys and games. And lately we're very focused on educational, or as we often call them, transformational games. Now that we're seeing tablets start to take over the schools and replace textbooks, there's a tremendous opportunity to use the power of games and simulation to vastly improve the quality of the educational materials that people are getting, and a tremendous amount of our focus is that way. And just the act of creating even a simple video game, you have no choice but to bring together artists and engineers and writers and musicians and producers. I mean, there's no other way to do it really. So, and I guess my point of view really is, for the most part in the 21st century, if you're going to do anything remotely interesting, like cross-industry collaboration is not an option. It's the only way to create something that is great and powerful and new.
Thank you. And again, just to set the stage for you, when we did the research last year that was published back in February, we looked at 7 creative industries. Arts and community, or advertising and communication, we looked at entertainment, we looked at fine arts, which GPAC's representing today. Then we looked at hardware and software, design and engineering, data science and telecommunications, those 3, the art and technology, and we had this large creative service sector. And I want to repeat what I said earlier. With the exception of the advertising and marketing folks, very few people in those 7 industries cross-collaborate. I think what you're hearing here today is it's not if, it's when. It's so essential. So again, we're trying to prime the pump. So when we give you your assignment to do your table work, you can think back to some of these and say, what can we do to make this happen? What ideas do you have? So we have about another 11 minutes. Let's run down the panel again. Again, trying to prime the pump. Matt's going to give you another example of something Daedalus. Matt?
I'm going to give you another, I guess, the example that I gave you previously, the creativity really came from the outside of our company, and we made you provided the technology and the understanding of manufacturing to make the experience happen. I'll give you an example where the technology came from the outside, and then we brought the creativity to bear. We were working with a couple of entrepreneurs who had a technology to quickly determine the temperature of water. Okay? And they had explored different ideas in the bathroom to use that technology. And we proposed to them that they might make a bathtub for babies. And that bathtub could take water in and measure the temperature. And we had people within our office who were really able to plug into how to make a bathtub appealing and connect to mothers and fathers of new infants. So we brought a huge safety benefit that prevented infants from being scalded by hot water. But we helped our client understand that the way to sell it was to sell a comfortable, ideally temperatured bath for babies. So we sold comfort and a restful, relaxing bath for babies, while at the same time providing this big safety benefit kind of as a byproduct. I think it was the artistic sensibility in the office to sort of get at how do we make this sort of a positive, joyful thing, not about a fearful, negative thing, scalding in the bath.
So great example. Design and technology coming together to provide safety and aesthetics. Paul, you have something you'd like to share with us?
Sure, and I want to follow up with the creativity and innovation comment by pointing out that Jesse does all the games for Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood and has done an amazing job of sort of reinventing the idea of video games for 3-year-olds. And we could have a whole session on that, but his team is genius at it. A couple of different things that I wanted to point out is with making media for young children, we're also very cognizant of the fact that you want to bring it into the real world. Children learn best when it's in the real world, not necessarily only through media. And there's 2 different ways that we're doing that right now. One is working with local educational organizations. One is working with local community organizations. The first, actually right now, at the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, we have a professional development institute that is trying to find ways to integrate Head plus Cat, our math series for young children, into Head Start classrooms. So using the media as a jumping off point for real hands-on learning of math for young children. We're also using it to help find ways to build a curriculum for early learning of math. It's a National Science Foundation grant that we were only able to acquire because we said that the Fred Rogers Company is partnering with the AIU and University of Pittsburgh. So bringing media into the classroom so that kids can learn in a real way. The other part with community organizations, in March, we partnered with United Way of Allegheny County and with YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh to create an event called Be My Neighbor Day. It was at 4 different YMCAs on March 22nd. And it was an opportunity for young families to come and meet Daniel Tiger, the walk-around costume. But also we took the opportunity for when kids were there, we had a number of activities set up by the United Way where young children would have an opportunity to learn what it means to be a neighbor, inspired by Daniel Tiger. And so examples of that were young children, 3 and 4-year-olds, were decorating placemats. And then after they decorated a placemat, they were asked to hand it in because that placemat was going to be delivered to a homebound senior who's in the Meals on Wheels program. And so young children were learning the lesson of making something for someone other than yourself, which is pretty hard with a 3-year-old. The other thing we did is we had them create snack bags that were going to be given to 6th graders in a mentoring program in the United Way who are about to take their state tests. And so these 6th graders would start to take the state test, they'd get a snack bag, they would have a juice box and a cookie and a note from a 3 or 4-year-old saying good luck. And again, that's even more of an interesting proposal to a 3-year-old is, here's a bunch of snacks, put them in a bag and then don't eat them. But it really, we took a survey and it prompted a lot of interesting conversation, parents reported, between them and their young children about what it means to be a member of a community and to give to other people. And again, that was using media to have an impact through community organizations in a real-world way right here in Pittsburgh. Both of these opportunities are incubators for then national programs. We're planning on taking a grant to take Be My Neighbor Day national now, and the idea with the LE Intermediate Unit is to figure out a way to take Peg plus Cat into national Head Start and preschool programs. So we're using Pittsburgh as an incubator for national programs.
Thank you very much. Great examples. Carl?
I want to get really specific with you because I want to give you guys an opportunity because that's our job really is to pull all these resources together to create this industry. As I said, there's a lot of big movie shooting here. One of our longtime advisors, Bernie Goldman, is about to come with a multi-million-dollar movie that Lionsgate's doing with Vin Diesel that's about to start. And I know a lot of people go, I want to work in that movie. But the truth is, these movies are really super high stakes, and you have to learn your craft. So what one of these Steeltown's been doing is we've given away $150,000 towards local independent filmmakers. So we have something that's been called the Steeltown Film Factory, but it's really going into community. So yesterday we had a crew connect to invite we've now seeded 10 short films that will be made in Pittsburgh this year. And so we had about 50 or more than that people in Pittsburgh at our offices, which are next to the Fred Rogers office. And we introduced the musicians to the people who are the art people, to the makeup people. And this is a great first way to get people involved. These low-budget movies are what really is going to allow people to start to establish their portfolio. So it used to be people would graduate from a great school like Point Park and they go to New York and LA. I'm very proud to say that we're backing a movie, a guy named Beale Donovan who had a movie that went to Sundance this year. And he's doing a full feature, a micro-budget feature that he's shooting in the next couple of weeks. So don't think he doesn't need you. So if you want to get connected to all these, I mean, if you go to steeltown.org, you can find out about them. We have a community showcase. But it's really our job to try to help get people to learn how to take what they have, the skills, and to apply them to the movie and the film business. Just as Jesse does. I just want to say for a second, we brought Jimmy Miller, the alum, back the day that Jesse moved into his new offices, and Jimmy was just astonished at the amazing number of people and the different type of people who are working at Schell Games. It's really exciting to see what Jesse's doing, so I'll hand it over to him.
Thank you, Carl. Jesse?
Yeah, just to talk about a concrete example of sort of cross-industry collaboration, it's really worth it to talk about the Daniel Tiger games that we've been developing with Fred Rogers, because it's been an incredible honor to be part of those, and it's really fascinating to sort of see the nature of the collaboration that needs to happen to get something like that going. Certainly, we work very closely with the team at Fred Rogers. We're back and forth in each other's offices, kind of working on creative ideas. But more than that, we also have to work with the animation studio. And one of the nice things in Pittsburgh, we're relatively close to Canada, where there's some incredible animation studios, and so we work closely with them to get source material that we can convert from sort of TV mode into interactive mode, and that's great. But then also there's PBS, and PBS out in Washington, D.C., and we have to communicate with them because any of these games we create go into the framework of the PBS website. And so there's just a lot of communication between different groups that needs to happen. I mean, in order for these things to take place, and some of it is here in Pittsburgh, and some of it is outside, and that sort of thing is just very necessary. And I'll just put on as a footnote, so I do teach over at Carnegie Mellon at the Entertainment Technology Center, and fundamentally what we teach there is interdisciplinary collaboration. And it's surprising, if you really care about interdisciplinary collaboration, one of your greatest enemies will become the universities. And it's weird to talk about this, but it's completely true that most universities have departments, and the departments are focused on their discipline, and that's it. And most people who've chosen to teach at a university would rather be alone than working on a big team doing a lot of different things. So many of the students coming out of universities have been trained by people who are all about just one discipline. And so it's something I think we all need to think about how can we help students who've been through systems like that learn to branch out and learn to connect with disciplines way outside their own.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm going to make two comments as David comes up to take us to break. The first would be to reiterate what Jesse mentioned, that if you want to succeed in the 21st century, you're going to have to collaborate. And I think we've had some great examples of this. I also want to just applaud what Carl's doing in his second example. Remember I talked about the 60, 70,000 freelancers in the community? Some of those are people that come seasonally lead. A lot of them are independents like myself. A lot of them are the people that support the movies. You know, we're going to be doing some additional work on that to better understand who is in that community, what do we need to help them succeed. Many of them are independent, so the idea of lived workspace is the idea of healthcare insurance for them. So what he's doing in the industry we call skill up some of these folks is essential to create the infrastructure we need here to have these creative industries flourish.